Okay, we all know wash your hands, socially distance, wear a mask, but like, how do you date? Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I don't know what day of the lockdown this is, but we are living in very interesting times. 2020 gets weirder and weirder. But I am pleased to report an independent film called Love in Dangerous Times is out and available. And we have the director, Jon Garcia, here joining us on the Film Threat Podcast. Jon, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Chris.
First of all, I have to tell you how much I really, really love this film. It's a romance that not only has the obstacle of, say, using an app to connect, right? Tinder, whatever, matching on an app, but also this all takes place, your story takes place and it's all like in real time. So it's like, you've got, not in real time, but like at least chronologically what we've already experienced, kind of takes place, right at the beginning before things have locked down, then things lock down, and our characters experience at least sort of like what we've experienced these last 8 months or so of living in a world now with COVID. But it's a romance. It's looking for love. I don't think I have to ask you what inspired it.
Right.
Obviously, but first of all, let's talk about like writing this script. I mean, it's one thing, and I almost think that the idea of a romantic film has kind of gone away. If you look at as a genre, romantic comedies, they don't really make them so much anymore. And even just traditional romance. Mm-hmm. But adding this layer and this obstacle, I think really makes it interesting.
Right. Yeah, I keep making romantic type films. I've made several of them now, and aside from being practical and low budget, and dialogue driven and et cetera, they're also just I am kind of a romantic, in a sense. So yeah, making this film, I think the script came about because we were myself and Ian, who's the lead actor, and also kind of co-creator of this thing, a producer. I remember I had the idea. I was kind of feeling the tension of the early days of the pandemic, and then I gave him a call one evening, and I was like, "Hey, I have this idea. What do you think? What do you think? Is this a good idea? Is this something to do right now? Should we do this?" And he was all about it. And I was like, "Would you like? I know you act sometimes. You're more of a filmmaker, but would you like to act in this thing?" And he said yes. And so I was like, "Okay, well, I haven't written anything yet. I haven't written anything at all, but I want to, and I've kind of got some thoughts percolating." And it's a lot of it was things that we were feeling in those early days of the unknowns of the pandemic. My friend Steve Avalon Gardner ended up helping us out, and he became a producer and was pretty much our only crew member. And I just remember the three of us in my little condo in Northwest Portland, just fleshing this thing out and just talking about it, and then we were all kind of telling, sharing collective fears that we had at the time, and in a way it was cathartic for us in some ways.
It definitely felt cathartic to me in the sense that you dealt with almost all the things that I think all of us have collectively had to deal with, just in terms of the emotional impact of having to social distance, not being able to connect with relatives and friends, trying to come up with ways just to occupy yourself. You can only binge watch so much, right?
Right.
But what I found really amazing about it was the connection these two characters end up having over, I don't know, Zoom or whatever. I mean, whatever it is they're talking video chat, and you see this kind of traditional romance things develop. There's an amazing scene I thought was so touching where it's the acting exercise. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was so I mean, the dialogue is in the tone. It's not in what they're saying.
Right.
Tell me about that scene. I just thought it really impressed me. I thought it was so creative.
Yeah, thanks for asking about that scene. So it's one of my favorite ones. It's an acting exercise. It's the Meisner repetition exercise. And I, like many actors, I studied Meisner with Catherine Gately in Chicago, Illinois. She's a renowned teacher, and that was that's I guess arguably like the foundation or one of the foundations of Meisner as an art form is the repetition. You look across from somebody and you make an observation and you are there moment to moment and you react without thinking, and you just share with people what you're getting from them, and they will only usually be as good as what you are giving them. So as long as you have all your attention and all your focus and all your love and everything on that person, you should be able to give them all they need, and they have all they should be able to have enough to react to and keep them in the moment. It's like a bouncing ball you keep up in the air. And so I always love that exercise, and I think a lot of cool things happen when you do that exercise with people. And both these actors had done it many times, and you know, it was kind of fun for them to kind of, you know, act in some ways as though they've never done it before, and they're there and stay in the moment. And I mean, we all got pretty close during this this whole filming process, and I didn't know Tiffany very well, and neither did Ian. So I think you know, all of us getting to know each other slowly, and for the two characters, Ian, you know, playing Jason, and then Sorrel, played by Tiffany, they were just connecting in that moment, bouncing back and forth, and they were just, you know, they were in it, and it was lovely. And every time I watch that little scene, I get a little choked up too.
I got choked up watching it because it's not about the words. It's about this tone, and you can see the tone shift. It was so clever. But when you said, okay, so when you were shooting Love and Dangerous Times, you said you got close. I assume not physically close, right? Like
Right. We all got, you know, there's a video of us where we're like about to high five, and we like stop.
Like, yeah.
And we like stopped. So yeah, we were we each quarantined for 2 weeks. It was mainly myself and Stephen and Ian, who were all in a room together. And you know, I mean, a part of us just wanted to be like, hey, we're in this thing together, you know, we might as well, you know, whatever. But I mean, we abided by those rules. We, you know, I think once we got a little more comfortable, you know, we'd shake a hand here and give a bump here, you know. But for the most part, we were respectful of those boundaries throughout the entire course of filming. And so yeah, we were careful. We were very careful and very open about, like, you know, what we had. Where we'd gone, who we'd seen, and for the most part, we weren't seeing anybody, you know, during those 22 days or so. We had one day, which was the which I'm sure we'll get to, is the scene at the end of the film, you know, the kind of distance love scene, I guess you can call it, where that was our only like on location day, and that was really stressful because, as we have talked about, there were still a lot of unknowns. So we had our little, you know, sanitizer station. We all wore masks, of course, which we would do pretty much in the early days of filming, when it was just me and Ian and Steve. We wore masks all the time. And then at some point we were like, I think, you know, we've all been quarantined. I think we're fine, you know, so let's, you know, but it was hard because testing wasn't really, it wasn't possible. We would ask each other, like, how do we do this, you know? And so, I mean, you know, it just wasn't as available at that point in time too. So we understood that there was some risks there, but you know, going back to our only day in that we were on location at a friend of mine's Airbnb to shoot that scene, the distance love scene, that was kind of stressful, but we made it through and respected everyone's boundaries. And you know, I was really I think this would have been a different a different situation entirely if somebody would have gotten sick during the course of making this film. And I'm so happy everybody was healthy, still is.
Well, what I love about it, and what I'm surprised that no one else has done. I mean, there was a horror film called Host that's like 60 minutes, and it's a horror film that takes place over a Zoom call. Host, I thought, was really clever. I'm surprised there have not been more films that have integrated into the story that there's a pandemic, and it's, the characters wear masks, your characters in your film social distance, they're all doing the things that we're doing. And what I really love about it too is that they're questioning and kind of maybe going through the same thing we all did at the beginning when we didn't really know, and then figured out like kind of what the rules are. I'm surprised, like, why hasn't there been just a traditional TV show and just everybody just do what you would do in real life, which is wear a mask and socially distance, just make it so I'm just saying, I thought what you did was so clever, and I'm surprised no one's doing it. And maybe they'll steal this idea from you. I don't know.
Go ahead.
No. I was just like super impressed. Like, wow, like this is not, you're just going to write it in, and why aren't TV shows doing it? Because this is not going away anytime soon. I mean, Disneyland isn't going to open till summer 2021 at best.
Wow.
If ever. That's, the recent news. Who knows where we're going to be? Like, this might be life for the next 4 years, right? Like, so why not just make that, add that other wrinkle into it? So I don't know. I love it because I feel like cell phones have kind of ruined modern filmmaking in the sense that they can solve every problem. Quentin Tarantino famously said, "What's your favorite era in terms of film?"
Yeah.
And he said, any time before cell phones.
Yes.
But I love that how the new obstacle is our world and our new way of life. And you just made an incredibly romantic, and I believe in the end, a hopeful film that maybe it is possible to connect with someone, under these circumstances. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I usually don't talk this much when I'm interviewing somebody. This is very rude of me. But I really, really enjoyed the film, and I want to make sure that people check out Love and Dangerous Times. Let's talk about that scene at the end too.
Sure. I wanted to make one quick statement about
please. Yeah.
About cell phones. I'm totally against cell phones too, as just cinematically. I just don't like working with them because I don't know. I mean, I think Tarantino has one, maybe. I think Death Trap, he has a cell phone in Death Trap. Other than that, I don't think he has any more cell phones, but I've just seen them be sort of problematic and able to solve problems that and sort of make conflicts less of there's so many unknowns before cell phones, right? I don't know. I felt like I try to avoid them at all costs if I can. So, and you're talking about making the movie. How you mentioned a minute ago. I'm trying to go back to what to.
It's like making a movie like with this is the world. So
right. Yeah.
Wear masks. People have concerns about relatives and friends that might get COVID. I've had friends, people who have work at Film Threat who have gotten it. It's and survive. So it's this is something we're all kind of dealing with.
Right. And I was listening to that podcast, Script Notes. Do you ever listen to that podcast?
Oh, I have not. No, I haven't.
John August and I forget the other guy's name, but they were talking about, like, for writers, like, if you're working on new projects, do you write something based in this period that we are now with the masks, or do you go before, or do you go to the after? Like, as some writers are kind of percolating, like, where do we base our stories in right now? And I mean, there have been a couple of other. Oh, I know Love in the Time of Corona, sort of playing off, Love in the Time of Cholera, that I haven't watched it yet. It looked pretty cool. I mean, I know that there's another film called, not Love in a Dangerous Time, but Lovers in a Dangerous Time, based on the Bruce Cockburn, Coburn song rather, coming out, a similar title as this film, and about a similar topic, So I know that I feel like there's probably going to be an influx, right, of either a pandemic centered or just sort of in the periphery type movies coming out. I wonder if, like, because like you said, this could be the next 4 years, and that's, I mean, I think in the early days of the pandemic when we were filming, like I don't know, there was a part of us that, deep, like, sort of our internal fear, intrinsic fear, like, could this be the end? I mean, could this be it? Or is this the last movie I'll ever make? I don't know. At its worst, I think maybe I'm one of the only few people that felt, that might be, a possibility. But I mean, we really didn't know. And now that, I guess we couldn't have imagined, just how far this could stretch out. And so, like you're saying, Disneyland's not opening until summer of 2022 or 21, I forget.
21. I mean, that's
Yeah.
optimistic. That's if everything goes perfectly. The guidelines that have been released by the state of California are kind of just beyond, I think, like unreachable for something like a large theme park, which might be, at least in this state, something that may not exist again. I don't know. They're saying it's going to take until 2024 at best for the entire world to be vaccinated. That's if there's a vaccine. So
Right.
I mean, it's weird, like how we process things, in the timeline of human history, right? We're still making movies about World War I and World War II, right? And a lot of other major historical events are brought to the screen. So I think it's like, when do people want to process this? I think after 9/11, I think what happened, there were a bunch of films that dealt with 9/11. I think it was almost too soon. It was too recent of a wound, so to speak, like to process. But I think because we're living with this now, I feel like maybe this is somewhat different.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a movie called Corona Zombies. Okay. I mean, it's like a What's Up Tiger Lily type of horror comedy from Full Moon Entertainment. But I personally like it. We could use a laugh.
Yes, and we could use happy endings. Like, like which is kind of like what we wanted to do with this film. Like, going back to what you're saying a minute ago, like one of the funniest things I've like with us on set, for instance, like we would totally hug each other towards the end of filming,
Mm-hmm.
and shake each other's hands, and then get some sanitizer, and then just like, okay, that's over,
Right.
And it's one of the funnier things about this the state of things, that we're in. I think's hilarious,
Well, I want to ask you about the scene at the end of the film where, I mean, it's and you don't, this is what is, I find troublesome. It's like Hollywood doesn't know how to process romance. It's almost like they're afraid of having a traditional romantic movie. Hollywood is somehow fearful for making that type of film. It's got to be, I feel like that kind of thing has gone away. And if you look at, like, for example, the most recent Star Wars sequel films had almost no romance. I thought it was so weird the way that they handled it. But I feel like what you did is, with this obstacle, is the perfect way to portray a romance. I thought, but let's talk about that sex scene, which I thought was simultaneously romantic. There's no nudity, just for anyone listening or watching to this.
Right.
There's no nudity in this scene, but the characters are, I don't know, it's weird to say, it's kind of hot. Like, they're like being intimate in a way with their clothes on and everything else that I don't think we've seen in a film. I can't recall a scene like that. Can you talk about that scene, and then like how you went about setting that scene up so that it ended up working so well?
Sure. Yeah. I wanted to, when I wrote this scene, I was just, writing what sounded good, what felt good. Right. And then when we went into it, I didn't want them to really rehearse it. I wanted it to kind of feel natural, but they really thought that it would help them to rehearse it, and it ended up being actually a great idea for them to sort of just feel it out. And I think what we were doing at first is they were closing their eyes and sort of imagining everything, and and that was cool, and that was fun, but it wasn't as engaging until we went back to the, you know, the Meisner exercise we talked about earlier, which it's kind of about eye contact and being present, et cetera, et cetera. So we're kind of calling back to that, you know, to that sort of, you know, you are present, you're nowhere else. This person is in front of you, and you're experiencing things moment to moment. So that's what they did. And once they opened their eyes, everything changed, you know, and they were connecting. And I think they had to know, they didn't know, I think, and to a degree I didn't either, that it was, you know, that it was supposed to be not just sexy, but also kind of funny, kind of ridiculous. And that's the thing, like, I didn't write jokes in this movie, you know. There's not like, there's a couple maybe lines that you could say are funny lines written for the purpose of being funny, but for the most part, it's like circumstantial comedy, you know, is what I call it. You know, it's kind of lightheaded. It's the people behaving, you know, in sort of, you know, people behaving in like kind of ridiculous situations, you know, behaving a certain way in like a ridiculous situation that makes it funny. And so the two of them here, in this room across from one another, 6 feet apart, having this sexual experience with their eyes open, and some of the things that they're getting to know each other sexually, and sort of walking the threshold and these boundaries of getting to know one another at the same time. It's becoming very sexual, and there's sort of these parameters of life and death. Will I ever see you again? You know, you are, you know, a lot of people just want to have somebody during this time, and they don't, you know, and so these people have found each other, and they're just sharing this moment, you know. So there was a lot of things happening, I think, that made that scene work, and we only ran a few takes of it, and then at some point, you know, the last 2 takes were like just the you know, the best ones, and they were a mix of funny and sexy and well, I guess a little raunchy maybe, you know.
Well, I mean, it worked. I mean, and you did mention comedy. What I like, you did not write stuff that just was like overtly there's some sort of comedic moments where it's revealed that he's at the briefcase. He's the guy. That's how she remembers him, is he's got, you know, coming out of the ocean with the briefcase in some commercial or something.
Yeah.
Which I think is really funny. It sort of establishes, oh, he's an actor and right, but like that's not the overriding part of the film. That's something that, you know, that he did, and so it's that's kind of funny. But but the tone of the film is just incredibly realistic and genuine, and I mean, it comes off. I just, you know, look, I'm fortunate. I have a girlfriend, you know, so I feel lucky in the sense of I feel for my single friends. I'm like, how are you surviving? And this movie just really kind of, you know, lays out like, here are the challenges, but love can still be found.
Yeah. And, you know, exactly. And a funny thing about this movie is like, you know, because I was trying to get back to Texas, where I am now, to see my mother and my sister and brother-in-law, nephews, nieces, etc. I was trying to get home, and that was sort of like one of the under you know, lining, I guess one of the motives for him, you know, is to try to finish this piece of art before he gets home, you know, knowing that it might be too dangerous to get home in the first place. And then there's this the love he finds that he needs while he's doing this. You know, there's several things happening. And it felt like, you know, after we finished the film, and then you know, I went home, you know, I was about to go home, like an old friend reached out to me that, you know, we'd had some like, you know, we had some like feelings we never really expressed before, you know, and they were being expressed like the day before I left. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm like living the movie out in real time here, you know. And then I flew home and was with the family and everything, and I lost an aunt, you know. So it was kind of, there was some sort of parallels from the movie into, you know, into real life, you know, life or whatever, you know.
I lost an uncle myself, so from Michigan. So you know, your film just really lays bare all the challenges that we're all dealing with, and then add to that being single and wanting, needing, affection, your film just so plays with all of those emotions, and it's great. So I just want to let people know, Love in Dangerous Times, it is out and available now. Seek it out. It's really something special. And seek out your film before that, Sex Weather, which I know was well reviewed on Film Thread.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yes. Jon Garcia, thank you so much for doing the Film Thread podcast. I also want to thank our sponsor, Storyblocks. Go to storyblocks.com/filmthread. They're a sponsor of the show, make it possible for us to do this. Jon, I can't wait to see what you have coming next. I actually hope that you pursue another film in this place in the human historical timeline, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I am. I'm working on something now.
Yeah. Oh, you are? I thought that's great to hear. Okay, well then you have to come back. Yeah,
oh definitely. And I also have another film coming out in 2021. It's called Lose, and it's if I can drop that.
Drop it. Why not?
All right, yeah, it's a film about two Latino men that fall in love in prison. So it explores love, intimacy, and masculinity within Latino culture. And so I was heavily inspired by Moonlight, and I wanted to kind of tell like that sort of realm of story from the Latino perspective. So that'll come out 2021. It's going to be put out by the same distributor that puts out Love and Dangerous Times, Dark Star Pictures. It's headed by Mike Rapsh, who's an awesome guy.
Awesome. Well, then you got to come back and we'll talk about that film too.
Cool, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for showing interest in the film. And I wish that Ian and Tiffany could be here, but and next time. Next time.
And also, I just want to tell my audience, check out the film Love in Dangerous Times. It's really something special. Jon, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.